All right, here we go. Tapping into my sexy mood with this song. It's totally your vibe. All right, here we go. Welcome back, guys. Welcome to the Dreams to Reality podcast. I'm your host, Annabelle Rodriguez, and today is episode 30. It is a new year, new me, new you, new everything. And guess what? We got a very, very special guest today. We're going to be talking about some very interesting subjects, so make sure you guys stay tuned and watch the full episode. We have a sex terrorist. If you don't know what that is, you will find out after today's episode. She's been in the divinity tool industry for well over a decade, and she started her business about 4 years ago. So I'm very interested in finding out her journey and finding out a little bit more about her insight and her wisdom. So please help me welcome Miss Angel. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So do you want me to call you Miss Angel for the rest of the show, or can I call you Ione, or how would you prefer?
Whatever you feel comfortable with is okay with me.
I think I like Miss Angel.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a cool name.
Yeah.
You know, and you told me that's your actual last name.
I like it too.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. My name is Annabelle, and there's really nothing else that you can call me.
But that's perfect in and of itself.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I was asking what does your name mean before we hit record on these, and you were saying it meant what again?
Violet Stone.
Violet Stone. Are you into like crystals and stuff too?
I do like crystals. I do.
Cool. My name means the essence of God. That's pretty cool, huh?
That is awesome.
Yeah. So how's your day been?
It's been good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What have you been up to today? Have you done any readings today?
I actually haven't done readings today, but I've been studying, learning, preparing, creating curriculum. I'm going to start a YouTube channel teaching people on sex tarot. So just there's a lot behind the scenes getting ready for that, for teaching.
That's awesome.
Just studying, tapping in, and getting ready to be here.
Yeah, I forgot to tell you, did you bring any cards with you?
I might, I was wondering, I might have one deck, but for my full sex reads, I would need different kinds. Okay. Yeah,
we don't have to do it today, but I was like, I'm interested. To be honest, I've never had any type of reading done. You know, I've never really believed in tarot reading or anything like that. You know, the reason why I became very interested in your story and how it came to be that you're here today is one of my buddies, I forgot his name. He's a rapper. He did my tattoo. High Tone. Sorry about that. High Tone did an interview with me, and then he said, "Oh, I'm going to be doing an interview, a podcast with this other guy who like owns this gym." And I was like, "Oh, I think I've seen his podcast on Instagram." And then I saw you come out on it. I think they're called the mixtapes or something like that.
Yeah.
What's the guy's name again?
Podcast. Jason is the host.
Jason, what is it, like Lamb or something like that? Or
I believe so. I'm not positive his last name.
Yeah. Well, shout out to him because he's doing a good job as well. And I've been watching some of his content, and I saw you on there, and that was the first time I even heard of sex tarot reading. I had no idea what it is, and automatically it captured my attention. You know, I've been going on a long spiritual journey, trying to find the truth to the world and trying to evolve as a person and grow and succeed. And part of that has led me through studying a lot of different subjects, you know. So when I heard about what you did, I wanted to bring you on the show to hear your story, how you got involved in what you're doing, what it is, because I have no idea what sex tarot is. I have kind of an idea what tarot reading is, but not really. And then I wanted to talk about a couple different subjects that I think is going to really, really impact our audience, and it's going to help them live a better life, you know? So why don't we start there? Tell me how you got into this field and what it is.
Well, when I decided to read for the public over 4 years ago, I actually was going to do general readings, and that was
What do you mean?
General readings, any topic about life.
So you were reading tarot readings before you got into sex tarot reading?
Yes.
Okay. Let's go even further back. What got you into tarot reading, and what is that?
I saw a reader tarot readings are a form, they're a divination tool, divination form. They're something you can use with a deck of cards, tarot cards, or playing cards, really, to get messages, like spiritual messages.
So it could be a regular deck of cards that you play like poker with?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Or it could be a special type of cards that are specifically for
could be tarot cards. There are oracle cards. There are different types of cards. And the idea is that you use it. It's a tool. Tarot cards are the tool, the divination tool to experience divination, which is messages or communication, insights, spiritual insights.
Okay. So you saw someone doing it. Did you seek a tarot reader because you wanted an answer for something, or did you see it like on TV, like, oh, that's cool? Like, what led you to pursuing that?
I was always interested. I wanted my own deck since I was a teenager. My mother wasn't about it. She was protecting me of it, the negative stigma. But I saw a tarot reader when I was deep in some trying times. I needed some guidance. So I saw a tarot reader.
So you were looking for guidance. You were looking for an answer.
Yes.
And you reached out, and did you go physically somewhere, or was this like online, or?
I went physically.
Okay. Do you want to get into what led you to that, or do you don't want to talk about that?
Yeah, I can.
Yes or no?
The story can seem kind of obscure the way that I'm going to intro it, but I think it's also really fascinating, really powerful. Yeah. So it was my mother actually who got a reading first. She's the one who told me about her.
Yeah.
And because of my fear and stigma, I wasn't too inclined to get a reading. Yeah. But my mother was pretty desperate. She had seen me very ill for a while. She needed answers. She needed hope.
Oh, okay.
So she was referred, and she went to her, and the reader essentially saw me in her reading very specifically, to put the least, very specifically, to the point where it compelled me to go get the reading on my own. So at the time I was doing something called bee venom therapy, and it's actually the therapy that saved my life. It was done with live bees, and it's when you... Did you have a question? Or?
Yes, but I want to keep going. I don't want to interrupt.
Okay. So that was performed with live bees, and that was what first started to help me. It stabilized my vitals within a few months, and I actually started to become well. So when she got the reading, the reader saw a honeybee pouring honey on a woman who looked very sick, and that was me. Yeah. And it tripped everyone out. The reader had never seen anything like that in a reading. Yeah. And that was just so specific. How do you get that type of reading? It's too specific. So that compelled me to go see her. Wow. And I continue to see her. That was my first big experience with just starting to actively get readings after that point.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, I did have a question because first off, bee venom sounds crazy. You never heard that before, and it brought other things into my mind. So to confirm, what led you to getting your tarot reading was you were sick, physically sick, and your mom wanted answers for you, and she went to go see a tarot card reader, which talked about you specifically and the therapy that you were doing at that time. And I do believe that there are a lot of natural remedies that can heal people. There's a lot of plant medicines that can heal people spiritually and physically, that is outside of the normal Western medicine. But also the problem that I feel that a lot of people have is, yes, there's a lot of negative stigma behind, a lot of these tools and medicines. But there's also a lot of people that are just straight bullshit, that they use it as a form to lie and manipulate people and utilize people to make money, So I was always very hesitant and skeptical about, Eastern medicine and like spirituality and like, pretty much all of that, because I felt that it was, I felt it wasn't true. you know, and, but I, when I was very, very young, I was very, very inquisitive, you know, so I didn't have any trouble, you know, looking for my own answers and making my own decisions. And I wouldn't just, you know, take everything as dogma, you know, and to be honest, you know, there's a lot of things that are just ingrained in you as a kid that kind of prevents you from exploring the world in your own way and making your own decision, you know. And that's good that you were able to push through that and, you know, go look for yourself and make your own decision if this was for you or not. And at the end of the day, I think people, the reason why they go to a reader, you know, or to a preacher or to a healer or to anyone is they're looking for help. They're looking for guidance. They're looking for answers. You know, when you're sick, you want answers. Like, why am I sick and how can I fix it? When you're sad, why am I sad and how can I fix it? You know, and you know, the topics that keep on coming up for people are very, very similar. It's money and relationships, you know. It's, you know, how can I make more money? I'm broke. And why can't I get the girl that I want, the guy that I want? And I have asked myself those questions, and I have chosen my own path on how to find them, you know, and it made me go down this crazy rabbit hole. You know, I've studied every major religion. I've studied Satanism. I studied, you know, anti-theism. I've studied both Western religions, Eastern religions, all kinds of religions, spirituality. I'm very, very involved in philosophy, you know, and I've made my own decisions at this point on what I feel is going to allow me to live the life that I want on my terms with my moral code and my code of ethics, you know. So I like to align with people that are on the same frequency, you know, that want to seek for answers and want to find truth and want to ultimately be happy, you know, and fulfilled. And a big part of that is your sexual expression, you know. If you ask I'm a guy, I'm a man, you know, if you ask any man why he does what he does, a huge motivation behind that is for his sexual expression. You know, he wants to attract the right female. He wants to be with the right woman or women, whatever it is, and he wants to have the ability to express it. But most people, they don't know how to do that, you know? So now that you're into the tarot reading, you know, you went through the experience where you were sick, you healed yourself through the bee venom, and that led you to follow this specific reader. How did you get involved into the sex tarotist?
So sex topics have always been a natural interest of mine. I feel like that was just innate. So when I started doing readings for the public, before I even started charging, just to see what it was like, I got tired of the same topics, and I spotted a sex-themed tarot deck online. And I just almost immediately knew that that was going to be, for me, my specialty. I saw at the time it was an area that was virtually untapped. There was some information on how to learn about reading the cards, but I really just got the deck and I started creating my own meanings, essentially, that are not far off from the original tarot meanings, but the sex meanings for them. And it's something that I still do to this day, and I still learn. So that is how I got into it. It was something that I spotted, and I think before I even had the deck, I just knew that was for me. That was what I was going to do. That's what I wanted to do, especially since I saw that it was not an area that was properly expressed or utilized.
Yeah. That's cool. How did people react to you getting involved into this line of work? Because it is a little, I wouldn't say taboo, but it is different from the norm. You know, most people are like, oh, I'm going to go to school, I'm going to be a nurse, or I'm going to be a dental assistant, or I'm going to be this or that, or, you know, I'm going to school for business.
Yeah.
Like, it's rare that you see someone say, like, hey, I'm going to be a sex tarot reader.
Yeah.
And then, you know, reading cards for them, they're like, what? So how did your friends and family that have known you from your whole life grow up, and then, you know, all of a sudden now you're in this line of work? How did they react to that? Well,
at first, because I grew up in a family that stigmatized it. I pretty much had to keep it hush hush, hidden.
Okay.
That was something that was even advised by my mother at the time. So there was this whole healing that had to occur because I was staying with her, that I had to defend myself and what I stood for and what I was growing into, and that what I was taught about it was probably incorrect. So at first, I pretty much gained a following through strangers.
Yeah.
By the time I had more of a following, my family didn't really say much. It took years for family members to start following my social media by the time I had already made more of a name for myself.
Yeah.
So no one really gave me any like backlash for it. I did get criticized on online forums saying that it was essentially making something sacred dirty, because tarot is a sacred tool to connect, a divination tool. So there is that. That still exists online. But overall through family, I think because I did it the main one that I had to just heal that relationship with was my mother, just that perception that she put on me, and then now she fully accepts it and supports me. So she's healed too in the experience, her preconceptions. It was mainly my mother, but she's the one who saw me from conception, from the idea to actually doing it. She saw me the whole way through. Yeah. And that was really the main opinion that I cared about. Anyone else, it was really like, okay, I'm going to just do this. I didn't receive too much backlash except online, but that was just something that I knew might be part of the territory. So I'm happy to say that years later, family just starting to follow me and then asking me about what I've been up to. You know, they're curious. They were curious, pretty much. Not a lot of backlash from other family, just curiosity.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Because most people, when they start a new venture that, you know, they're not known for, that's, you know, outside of the norm, they get ridiculed, they get opposed, they get, you know, people talk a lot of shit, pretty much. They trash talk you. And for the most part, people quit at that point. Be like, oh, I don't want to do this because they're going to talk bad about me. And that's good that, you know, you didn't experience that. And more than anything, you got curiosity. And they say curiosity kills the cat, you know, and that's why you're here. You got me curious too.
Yeah.
I am curious in knowing exactly, you know, who comes to you for these readings? Like, what's the average person? Like, is it mostly male, mostly female? What kind of questions are they asking you? What topics are you talking about? And what is the exact process? Like, what are the, you know, some of the more popular cards, I guess, that you pull in? What do they represent? Like, are you telling people like, you know, you need to do it in this position now, or are you telling them you should, you know, what exactly is it? Because I have no idea what it is.
So the first question, can you repeat the first question? You had a few for me.
Yes. The first one was, what kind of people come to you? Is it mostly male, female, the age group, and what are the answers that they're looking for?
So at first it was a lot of females, but honestly now, I don't want to say 50-50, maybe it's 60-40, predominantly females. I have a lot of males that I do readings for now, especially because I do readings for all gender, sexuality types. So that really keeps me open. Yeah. So males and females, the readings that are popular, what do they come to me for? Well, first and foremost, a big question that people want answered is, do they sexually desire me? So just first basic question. Does the person that they're interested in, do they have sexual desire?
I see.
That's a start. Yeah. What sex would be like is another one. What their sexual energy is. Yeah. If someone wants to read on themselves, like what the queerance sexual energy is, what they could find out what they're like in bed, just so they gain awareness, maybe on areas to improve. I do have a reading, how can I improve? Yeah. Virtually any topic, and it's expanding. I mean, so those are some of the most popular questions that I get, and really readings. That's what they come to me for, but those are also readings as well that I perform because I have topics. It's only soon that I'm going to expand to just booking an hour with me and we can cover all sorts of things. But right now my readings are set by topic.
Yeah. Do you ever do couples?
So not online, but I have done couples readings. I've really only performed one in person.
I feel like that would be something that's very popular, you know, a husband and wife who maybe they're not happy sexually. Either they want to explore their own sexuality or outside of their marriage or whatever they want to do. I thought that'd probably be a popular topic. So I'm actually surprised that you don't get a lot of couples. Because from my experience, most people that have been together for a long time, they're no longer sexually attracted to each other. They're kind of just living life on a routine.
Yeah.
Their sex is the same pretty much every time. This is from my experience. You know, when I see couples that have been together for a long time, they don't seem like they're very sexually active. You know, it's very rare that they have, especially if there's kids involved and there's, you know, work life and they're stressed out and maybe they don't exercise as much before, so they let go of themselves a little bit. And, you know, the man's sexual drive drops. He no longer finds his wife attractive. Now he's going to strip clubs or using pornography, and now he's no longer pleasing her. And usually it leads to a relationship not working, you know, which is why I think sexuality is a very, very important subject for people to understand within themselves and within their partner in order to be fulfilled, you know, because I don't care how beautiful your partner is. If you don't know how to please them and how to please yourself in the process, that relationship's not going to work. You know, you're going to end up, you know, breaking up. And it happens over and over and over again, you know, and there's couples that, you know, been together forever and they just live, they, at one point they're like, I guess this is my life, you know, and who wants to live like that anyways, you know? So I would think that at that point, people are like, let me look online, like couples marriage, this, that, like, oh, sex tarot reading, maybe try that, you know, because it's kind of intertwined with relationships and, you know, and all that.
I mean, that's definitely something that I'm going to offer is couples readings. I think a lot of people, they come to me, it's one-sided, where the husband or the wife, the man or the woman, they will actually be the one to come to me for the reading on their own terms. Maybe their partner doesn't go to readers. Maybe their partner isn't into it. So right now it's very one-sided when it comes to couples readings. It's not a couple, but it is normally one person coming for guidance on the relationship. But I am going to open myself up to both of the queerants at the same time doing a reading on them. And that will be when it's live. I feel like that's best done when it's live. So that is something I should be opening up in 2023 this year. First, I'm going to be opening up just being booked for a single person reading, and then the couples, it's just all a process. And reading one person, it's already quite a bit complex. So that's how I'll start it before I go towards reading two at one time. I can say that it was challenging. It was doing the couples reading when I did it because it was literally in person. They were in front of me, and they were, the time that I've done it, that one time they were kinky. So I had to bust out tools that I don't use, other cards that I don't normally use for conventional person. But
they're going to bring out actual tools, you know. Like, there's a whip. Here's some rope. You guys want to get kinky?
But those were the images on the cards that I had to use. And so it's interesting. It's challenging, but it's definitely an area I'm going down, and I'm glad that you mentioned that because it could really be helpful. But someone doesn't need to get a reading with their partner to still benefit from the reading. And sometimes that discretion, that privacy is necessary because it's a sensitive topic for a lot of people. Yeah,
definitely. Sex and money and religion and all of these topics are very touchy for a lot of people. It's something that's very private that people really don't want to talk about it, but it's something that's important, you know, to understand. And I know you were saying something that I wanted to talk about is how, you know, your mom had put all these beliefs in you as a child that made it difficult for you to, you know, step into this world. What was that? Were you like raised a certain religion that made it, you know, negative to go into this field, or what was it?
So I was raised Christian, therefore conservative, and I was raised with the notion or idea that tarot readings, any divination tool really was inherently evil. So that was the biggest preconception that I had to heal, belief that I had to heal, but also the relationship with my mother, because she's the one that instilled that belief system in me. So it was really that. I was raised Christian, though, Christian, conservative Christian, and I still respect the church and their beliefs.
Yeah. It's funny you mentioned that, because myself, I was raised Mormon, which is a sect of Christianity, which they have their own beliefs. And like I told you, growing up, I was very curious, and I was always questioning, and I was always trying to figure out like things that didn't make sense to me. I would want to figure them out. And when I was like maybe 15 or 16 is when I went on this journey of studying all these different religions. And, first I started with the main monotheistic, religions. I studied pretty much all the different sects in Christianity, Catholicism, Christianity, Seventh-day Adventists, Mormonism. I know everything there is about most of these religions, and there's like hundreds of them. I studied Islam, and, there's a bunch of different sects of Islam as well. Then I even studied, Judaism, and there's a bunch of sects of that as well. And then I started tapping even deeper, and I went into all of the polytheistic religions, from way before, and there was hundreds of thousands of them, and a lot of them have so much truth and so much wisdom and so much insight, and they're great. And but also I realized that they were all man-made, and it was our way of trying to find an answer, because at the end of the day, we are human. We are Homo sapien. We are a highly evolved species of primate, that wants to look for patterns in things. We hate not knowing. We want to know. We rather know bullshit than nothing, so if something is creating a pattern, we want to make an answer to it, So that is who we are. And I think that all religions have a lot of things in common, and they have a lot of good in them. But the dogmatic part of it was what I did not like, having to do certain rules. And if you did them, then you're going to hell, or, I didn't like that aspect of it. So it made me go deeper and deeper and deeper. And I got to the point where I was almost atheist. Like I was agnostic. I didn't know if there was a God. I didn't know, I was lost. And then I went through my life experience like that for a long time, for many years. And it took me into a very dark world, and I was making a lot of mistakes. I was, doing a lot of stupid shit. And part of that you mentioned growing up, like sexuality to me was also something that I kind of felt guilty about. I repressed, I was a late bloomer. I was a virgin until I was like 20. I must have been like 22 or something, or 23. And that first relationship that I got into, I really knew nothing about the male-female dynamic, about how to communicate with the opposite sex, how relationships worked. All I knew is your body's a temple. You're not supposed to have sex till you get married, and if you do, then you're going to hell, So I had all this guilt about these feelings that I had, and I wanted to express them, but I felt like if I did, I was dirty, I was wrong. And I feel a lot of people carry that with them. And, when that relationship ended, she like left me, and I was like completely heartbroken. It was like my first true like heartbreak, where I was just like super, super depressed, and I was just like, I remember I was like crying on the floor, and I was like, I'm never going to go through this again. I remember telling myself this, and it led me into a whole nother world. And I went on this journey of just studying the male-female dynamic, studying attraction mechanisms between males and females. I studied communication, social dynamics. And I got really good. I got really good at understanding how to communicate with people, both male and female. I learned what attracts people, and I learned what the purpose of life was on a biological level. So the purpose of life on a biological level is survival and reproduction. don't die and reproduce, make babies, because at one point you're going to die. And the purpose of life is to continue our species, So if you put a guy and a girl in a room long enough, they're going to have sex. Why? Because that's in their biology to do that, Now, attraction is very, very different between men and women. Men are attracted to a female's reproduction value. And females are typically, I'm not talking about everybody in the world. I'm talking about generally speaking. Women are generally more attracted to a man's survival value, So why are women more attracted to a tall, strong guy? Because he could protect them. Why are women attracted to a wealthy guy compared to a guy that's poor? Because he could provide a better lifestyle for them. Safer home, nicer environment, better food. He can provide for my children, our children. And so they're looking for that, and males are attracted to a female's reproduction value. If a beautiful woman walks in with nice hips, big breasts, long hair, beautiful face, automatically, I don't care if you're 15 or 85, the man's going to be attracted. And in their head, they're like, oh, shoot, look at that girl. Like, she's beautiful. And they're going to have all of these sexual urges to want to procreate, to be with that woman sexually. And they cannot fight it. It's a biological trigger.
Yeah.
So once you understand what the triggers are, then you can kind of go throughout the world with showcasing those sexual attraction mechanisms. But along the line, I went into a really dark world. I started meeting all different types of people, getting into different things. I ended up marrying a stripper.
That's really interesting.
Yeah, I ended up marrying exactly what I wanted on a physical level.
Yeah.
Physically, she was extremely gorgeous, like beautiful. She's a supermodel, and it was a very negative world. It was a very dark world that it led me into, and it ended disastrously. It was a horrible, horrible ending, and it left me in the biggest depression of my life. I was like in the darkest hole in my life. And in this darkness, I had so much hatred, so much, what's the word I'm looking for? I guess the main answer, I was angry. I was not happy. I was depressed. And in that anger, I found the purpose, my purpose to my life and what I want to do. And I came out of that darkness and that suffering with a lot of wisdom and a lot of insight. And I realized, that there's more to this world than just the physical. There's a lot more to it. And I had to forgive everything that happened. I had to forgive myself. And then from there, I had to kind of evolve and grow, which is why I brought you on this podcast, because I want people to be able to attract the partner that they want, both physically, but also spiritually, So I think there are tools that you can do that will allow you to tap into a spiritual side, not just the physical side. So religion is very, very different than spirituality. Spirituality is not religion. It's not dogmatic. It's your own experience of this world and wanting to seek the truth and wanting to seek for answers. So now that you're a sex tarotist, do you practice a religion? Do you believe there is a God? What is your spiritual beliefs?
I do believe there is a God. There could be multiple. There's spiritual beings, angels, demons even. There's just a whole realm, I believe, that we are not physically able to see. And I also believe that we are essentially resembling God in a sense. And knowing ourselves and healing ourselves is a way of knowing God. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a big saying that you're not in the universe, you are the universe. Everything in this world is made up of the same things. I studied both philosophy and science very, very deeply. And the information that I have is what I know up to this point. And this is my opinion. I'm just expressing myself from the information that I have, and my understanding of the observable universe, what we can see and what we can do with math and what we know up to this point is that everything that is here, this water, you, this microphone, this computer, the air, the earth, the stars and the moons and everything at one point was all condensed to a tiny little thing. Mm-hmm. And there was nothing but potential. Mm-hmm. And then at one point, we don't know why. This is what we're philosophizing, like why and how and what. Who is it? What is this thing that created us? It exploded into everything. And it took, right now it's about 7 billion years, I think is what we are at, of the observable universe. But there's far further that we cannot see. So we don't really know. There could be universes within universes that we don't even know about. So from what we know is that it exploded into everything. And that is what we are today. Things went everywhere. They created nebulas. It created, galaxies. It created Earth. It created planets, stars, moons, everything that's in there. And then within this planet, it created us, So we believe, and what I think it is, that God is that energy, that spiritual energy that created everything. And it wants to express itself, but it also wants to know itself through us. Like what is consciousness? It's thought, it's thinking. It's your own expression of this universe.
Exactly. And something else I'll add to that is I really like how in the Kabbalah, they essentially describe God as nothingness, because to describe God as anything is limiting, really. Yeah. If you put a definition on God, it's contradictory to what God actually is. So it's better to just understand, almost like you don't understand, that God is nothingness and therefore it's everything and maybe everywhere and it's all of us.
Yeah. I agree with that. I think that's definitely, there's definitely truth behind that. I do think there is an infinite battle between good and bad, up and down, in and out, male, female. I think what God is the natural world, the law, the law of nature, and the law of nature is creation, and then death, and then recycling that, and then creating, and then that creation at one point goes away and then it comes back. And the higher you're able to evolve, the more you're able to realize that, holy shit, we are all one. So one thing that you were talking about was the bee venom. And I've had a couple of people come on the podcast and talk about plant medicine. They've gone on, these trips, these psychedelic trips from either ayahuasca or, there's a bunch of different stuff. What is there? Mushrooms, psychedelic mushrooms. And if you ask people that go on these psychedelic trips, they all come back with the same thing. They all come back with this feeling of we're all one, So I think there are tools that can allow you to tap into that universal truth that makes you realize, holy shit, yeah, we all are connected in one way or another. We all experience suffering. We all experience life in our own way. Your life experience is completely different than mine, and your belief systems are your own, and I have mine. But at the end of the day, we're both part of the same thing. We're all connected in one way. And I think in order for us to really be able to express ourselves and be fulfilled is, one, you have to become conscious of your sexuality, conscious of yourself, conscious of what you want. And then secondly, use those thoughts to create the life that you want. You are in control. You are the one that makes the decision. Like I have my buddy, Tony, who's going to be fighting on Saturdays, an MMA fighter. And he was telling me I was telling him about, how to sell his tickets and, make more money and how to save his income. I told him, save 20% of your income. And he's being trained by a ex-professional UFC fighter. He's like, oh, well, my trainer told me to save 60%. And I was all, listen to him, because he was a pro UFC fighter. And I'm sure you guys get paid way different than an employee. You don't get consistent paychecks every 2 weeks, every month. You probably get paid a big lump sum every 6 months or something. So it probably makes more sense to save 60%. I was like, listen to him. He's like, he's all, should I go back to school? Should I not? And I told him, I don't think you need to, unless you want to be a doctor, a lawyer, or some kind of profession where you need to go to school. I was like, whatever you're trying to learn, it's best learning by someone that's actually done it, or you can study online. This shit's free, And he's like, I think I'm gonna go back to school. And I told him, man, this is your life. you get to decide whatever you want to do. Listen to people that have successfully shown that they can maneuver through this world successfully, take their input, but at the end of the day, you make your own decision. You know, you choose a life that you want. And I feel that in order for people to do that, they need to become conscious of a lot of these emotions and feelings that they have inside of them. And the biggest one that I feel is always sexual energy, you know, like back to the purpose of life. On a biological level, it's survival and reproduction. Everybody has some kind of sexual urge, unless you're like asexual or have some kind of, you know, physical issue, or you went through like chemo or something and like your sex drive is completely gone or your testosterone is completely gone. But those are outliers. For the majority of people, we all have sexual energy that we can use. So one of the subjects I wanted to talk to you about was, what is sexual energy? And I did want to tap into sex transmutation on how people can use that sexual energy to accomplish goals in their life, whether they're you know, physical goals, they want to get in better shape, whether it's financial goals or career goals, they want to accomplish, they'll start a new business or whatever it is, or whether it's a spiritual goal. You can use this energy, this sexual energy that we all have. So from your perspective, what is sexual energy?
So sexual energy, it's energy that we have emitted usually from the sacral chakra, but it can come out in ways that are not sexual. The way that you mentioned, it has to do with transmutation. It's our sacral chakra, right above the root chakra. The root chakra is survival, like you mentioned, but then right above it is the sacral chakra. It's our chakra that we use to express sexuality and creativity. Yeah. So sexual energy exists in all of us. Even if you're asexual, you still have a sacral chakra. We have 7 chakras and spirituality, and your technically sexual energy, your sacral energy, really can come out in a different way. It doesn't have to be necessarily through sex. So it's like, I think sacral energy is almost it's a different way of saying sexual energy, but it encompasses both and allows us to transmute just what would be sex, sexual energy, sexual expression, if someone is actually not sexually expressing. But really simply and basically, sexual energy, just even biologically, it's something that people can feel. They can feel it, you know, physically. They emit it. It can affect their body. It's a response. It's biological. Yeah. But spiritually, it exists in us for a purpose. And the sacral chakra, the sexual chakra, is as much about creation and creativity, and that's relates to your point of transmutation.
Exactly. Yeah, makes a lot of sense, and I have very, very similar viewpoints from what you said. You know, to me, sexual energy is the psychological and spiritual drive, energy that you have within you. You know, like you mentioned, what was that first chakra?
The root chakra. That's for survival.
Right. We call that the lizard brain, you know, in psychology. And that is, you know, I want to eat, I want to have sex, I want to do this, I want to go here, I want to go there. It's very unconscious. It's unconscious. For most people, their sexual energy is unconscious. They watch something that makes them horny, then they use that energy for the dumbest thing ever. They go and they watch porn and they jerk off, and then they get rid of that creativity. You know, the problem with the lizard brain is that it's unconscious, you know. So most people's sexual energy, it's an energy that's never tapped into and used in a proper way. And I have struggled with that too. As a young man, young men are like full of testosterone and they just want to like have sex with everything and everyone, and like, you know, they're just crazy about it. But if you learn how to, like you said, transmute that energy. Like we were talking before we hit record about Think and Grow Rich, the book that Napoleon Hill wrote about essentially how to become successful and wealthy, is that sexual transmutation was one of the big tools that all of these successful people that he interviewed utilized to become successful, because they turned that unconscious energy of wanting to just have sex and they turned that into their conscious. So as soon as you feel those urges, you think about it. The first step is to become aware, awareness. And for most people, it's physical, so like if I feel horny, first thing I'm gonna do is like I'm gonna think about my body, like what am I looking at, what am I seeing, like how am I feeling, what are the sensations within my body. So now I'm conscious. People call it meditating. You become conscious of your own being. And then from there, you can now think. Now you can think about something else. I'm going to use this energy like, man, I really want to get in great shape so that I can attract the female that I want, because right now I'm a fat piece of shit that, they're not going to find me attractive. Or, damn, I need to get out of my mom's house and I need to get a job and I need to, accomplish something big instead of just jerking off and going to sleep and playing video games, using that sexual energy. Right now in this world, there is a plethora of young men and women that are wasting their life. They're wasting their life on dopamine hits, just, let me get a like on Instagram. Oh, that feels good. Oh, let me go eat this food because it makes me feel good. Let me just go have random sex and, whatever. Or let me just watch pornography. And they're wasting their life and they're wasting that energy. That's both sacred, but it's also purposeful. It's there for a reason. And it's for us to procreate and to advance our species. And we are supposed to advance, which means we're supposed to get better. Generally speaking, 100,000 years ago, there was no iPhones, there was no computers, there was not all of this information that we have now. And how did we evolve? There was a lot of different ways we did that. And huge part of it was becoming aware, becoming conscious, and looking and seeking for answers. So I do believe that sexual energy is something that every single person has the ability to tap into that's going to allow them to accomplish whatever goal they want. So first step is pick a goal, figure out what you want. I want to start this business, or I want to get in great shape, or I want to, attract the right partner. All right, well, let's get into it. It means you're going to have to study certain things. You're going to have to talk to certain people, or you're going to have to put yourself out there. You have to get uncomfortable in certain situations. You're going to have to overcome obstacles. All of these things that every single person has to do, you're going to have to go through it, and you're going to have to evolve. You're going to have to heal yourself. All of your traumas that you have as a child, all of these stigmas that have been given to you, you're going to have to overcome these. And the way you do that is becoming conscious. And it's funny because I have friends to this day, they're in their mid-30s, they have kids, they are still children. They're the same kid I knew when they were in 5th grade and they are right now. And they express themselves the exact same way, but they're adults. So I look at adults very differently now. I just see them as big kids, unless they have shown that they have evolved and they actually have put in, it takes a lot of work. They have put in the work to heal their suffering, understand their demons, their darkness, and grow.
But you're right that that's something that people don't normally do, is they don't get to that next level of healing or consciousness, really. The average person walks around their life, they live their life unconsciously. Yeah,
I agree. I mean, it's easy. There are certain laws to this world that I don't care who you are, you can't fight them. Like you can say, oh, there's no such thing as gravity. Like, okay, well, there's gravity, it's there, and the problem is that most people, they're given certain beliefs when they're young and they just run with them. They never seek for answers. And then all of the traumas that they've had, they either repress, they just, whatever, they forget about them. And then they pop up in very, very negative ways. And like I said, it's hard to face your demons, and I had to do that. One of the biggest problems that I had to really, really combat is I would hold in, anytime people would do things that bothered me, I would hold it in, and I wouldn't express myself, and I would allow people to use me pretty much. And I would allow for a lot of bullshit, and it would build up a lot of resentment in me, but I wouldn't say anything. And I would hold it in and hold it in and hold it in. And then it would explode in a horrific, violent way where it was ugly. It was, and I was almost scared of myself at a certain point, because that rage that would come out, I wasn't in control. I was not in control of my body, of what I was doing. It was almost like I was removed from myself. And I've experienced it like 4 or 5 times in my life.
That's interesting.
Yeah, where I would go into this fit of rage that would build up from so many shit that happened to me.
Years of repression.
And it would explode in a very violent way, and it would destroy my life, essentially. And I had to figure out why. Like, why do I go through that? And I had to first learn the root, you know, of where it came from. And I had to take therapy, and I had to go on, you know, like I said, my own journey. And I found out, you know, I actually knew what it was, but I just kind of just put it in the back burner. Like I said, people repress things. I just brought it to the light. I said, oh, this is my demon. This is my little buddy.
But you're really smart, actually, because people, they might know, but familiarity is always a lot more comfortable for people, even if it's trauma, even if they're miserable, it's familiar, and people will stay in familiar patterns. To really look at that and actually feel like you want to change it instead of escapism, instead of trying to continuously escape it, which is what I see. I think a lot of us see that. Yeah. It's not the norm, but I do feel like there is a shift now. People are, as a collective, waking up, especially as therapy and alternative modalities, healing modalities are becoming more prevalent. It's not as stigmatized. So I do think things are changing.
Yeah, I agree. 1,000%. You can just feel it. You know, people are now looking for answers. Yeah. And like you said, we are the universe expressing ourselves through us, through me and you. And I think that led to this podcast. You know, like I said, in that darkness, in that pit, is where I found my purpose. And this is part of that, is giving back. Like everything that I do here, I don't charge anybody anything, you know, and I promote people that come on here, and I help them with their careers, and anyone that comes into my universe, I want them to leave feeling good and with more. You know, I'm not here to take, I'm here to give and give and give. And like I said, there's natural laws in this world that you cannot fight. So first you must give in order to receive, you know, so people just want to take, I want to take this, I want to take that. And at one point, hey man, there is an action and a reaction to everything in this universe. You know, what you do, you're building up negative karma. You're building up, you know, just bad juju. And at one point it's going to come back to you. And like I said, when I went through those, it was quite a few years. It was probably like 8 or 9 years that I was just in this state of unknowingness and in this dark world that I built up all of this negative karma, and it came to an end at the end of my marriage. And
were you married the whole time?
No, I was married for about 2 years.
Okay. So it was the 2 end years of those 8 years.
Yeah. Those last 2 years were probably like like I told you, like I just allow shit to happen to me, and it piles up, and then it explodes in one day. It was that explosion, you know, and in my hero's journey, like I had told you, everybody has theirs. That was the point of, you know, quitting, the point that most people, you know, they're like, they become losers pretty much, or they just decide to, oh, well, this is my life now. And at that point I said, no, fuck that. Just like I said, like, I'm never going to feel this again. I said, I'm going to go on another journey, and I'm going to figure this life out, and I'm going to seek for truth, and I'm going to make the best of my life. Like I said, I study a lot of philosophy. One of the major philosophies that I read daily is Stoicism. You know, there's so many different Stoic philosophers that I read, you know, different passages from different ones, as well a bunch of different religions, stuff that I read on a daily basis. But one of the huge beliefs is amor fati, which is Latin for love your fate. Whatever the universe, God, whatever you want to call it, has given you in this life form, you should love it, good, bad, or ugly, because what else is there? There's nothing but this life for you. You know, you, as in Ione here, this is your life. So you should love your fate, whatever it is, and you should make the best out of it. And you should, you know, consciously create the life that you want.
I like that you said the last part.
Yeah. You should consciously create the life that you want. So if there's something about your circumstance that you're unhappy with, don't be a victim. You know, don't be a loser. You know, yes, there are people that are victims in this world. Someone can just come up to you and shoot you for no reason. You're a victim, you know. Like I've told people before, like we live in LA, man. A homeless person could just walk up and stab you for no reason.
Yeah.
You're technically a victim.
Yeah.
But there's things in this world that you can control. So the way that you evolve is little by little. It doesn't happen overnight, and it's a constant battle. Another law of this universe is, you know, entropy. The world, if you leave it to its own devices, it will eventually dissolve and die, and it would go away. You know, so why do we shower every day? Why do you brush your teeth every day? Why do I study every day? Why do I work out every day? Why do I constantly try to create more every day? Why do I want to learn more every day? Because at one day I'm going to die. You know, if you leave your house, wherever you live right now, leave it alone. Don't do shit to it. Come back in a year and see how it looks. Fucking bushes everywhere. Shit's all jacked up. There's dust everywhere. That's entropy at its finest. That same entropy happens to you as a human. You know, if you don't take care of your health, you're going to get sick and you're going to die. If you don't take care of your spirituality, it's gonna get worse. And people think that by not doing anything, I'm safe right here. No, you're not. If you're not doing shit, you're dying. You're going backwards because there's entropy. Businesses know that. Why do you think there's such thing as inflation? Because businesses know that if I am not growing, if I am not accomplishing more, if I am not making more income, I'm going out of business. If I'm not evolving with the times, you know, Blockbuster ain't around. They didn't evolve with the times.
Yeah.
They died. They're out of here. You have to constantly want to be the best version of yourself in whatever you're doing. Guess what? Sex terrorism is also evolving, and you're part of that evolution. Like you said, you had to pick other tools. And the beautiful thing about this world is that, hey, you get to decide how to express yourself. All the information that I've learned, I made it to my own philosophy. I have Annabelle's philosophy, and it's mine, and nobody gonna take that from me. And this whole life, this is my world. This is my experience. I'm no longer following anybody. I'm either helping you or you're following me because I'm leading, you know? And I think that is the way how people can truly, truly, truly find purpose in this life and no longer be sad and depressed. And I don't got time for that shit, you know? I am trying to evolve and grow and create the image in my head in this world for myself and for the people I care about. You know, so that's kind of my own viewpoint and my philosophy. But another topic that I kind of wanted to talk about is relationships and the male-female dynamic, you know, because I know I talked a little bit about my divorce, but have you ever been in any long-term relationships or anything? You married?
The longest relationship I've been in was 3 years.
Okay.
I haven't ever been married. The relationships were serious at the time, but I've gone through, because of my past, long periods of being alone, actually. But I do have a relationship experience, yes.
What do you think makes a relationship work?
Adaptability, of course, communication, comprehension. It's not just communication, it's comprehending.
What do you mean by comprehending?
Comprehending what the other person is actually communicating. Versus just having a good form of communication. The partner needs to comprehend it.
Yeah.
So understand it, essentially finding someone who understands you, who sees you, other than simple interests. Likes and interests, I mean, it is a common factor, important factor of successful relationships. Not always the most important factor, but aside from the communication, comprehension, adaptability, growth, and that's a big one too, is the adaptability, because we're always changing, and the partner that you first initially date is probably not going to be the partner that is there 5 years later or 10 years later. So
it's rare.
Finding someone like-minded in the sense of your like morals, values, what's important to you, your beliefs, spirituality could be them for one, lifestyle. It's different for everyone, but I honestly feel like a lot of those, like you really need a good balance of a lot of those, because someone could really be the best communicator and they comprehend you, they understand you, but your lifestyles are so different. So really, everyone essentially chooses what's the most important to them to make their own relationship last. And so for some people, they're very business oriented and they might not need to be so spiritual. It really just depends. But I think ultimately communication, comprehension, and adaptability will help.
Oh, that's really, really good. There's a lot of, there's so many different topics I could dive into there and spend a whole episode on, but that's true. I think from my perspective, like one of the most important parts of any relationship, whether it's, you know, wife, boyfriend, girlfriend, business partnership, whatever type of relationship you have, should be trust, you know, psychological and emotional trust, you know, because if you don't have those two things as the foundation, then you don't even have a relationship.
Yeah, that's true.
And there's so many people that are in relationships with another person that they don't trust. I'm like, why? Why are you looking through their phone? Why are you questioning them?
Self-sabotage.
Like, you know, this thing's not going to work, right? Like, this shit's going to end horribly for you. Like, you should probably just end it now if you don't trust each other.
Yeah.
I would never go into business with a person I don't trust, you know, and, like I told you, I've made so many mistakes. I got into relationships with people I didn't trust. I've done that before. I've been that person I'm talking about.
I mean, likewise.
You know, I think we've all been there. We've all made mistakes, and through those mistakes you learn. And that's how I learned that the foundation. And to be honest, as I was going through my divorce, I wanted it to work. I wanted to fix the relationship. So I started, you know, studying, and I spent like $10,000 on this relationship course that had so much good information, and the foundation they talk about on all relationships is trust, emotional and psychological trust. If you can't even tell your partner how you feel, you know, you're fucked. You know, like you're scared that what you tell them they're going to use against you, or, you know, they're going to yell at you or tell you this or tell you that. Like, man, just get out of it. It's a toxic environment, and you're never going to be happy. You're never going to be fulfilled if you can't trust the person with you, you know? So outside of that, I do believe sexual attraction is a huge indicator if your relationship's going to work. There's usually 3 points that I tell people this. I tell them, you know, you have to have intimacy. And intimacy is not a sexual thing. Intimacy is back to what I talk about, trust. You can be very, very intimate with your friend, but you're not sexually attracted to them. That's just a friend, you know. That's not going to be a romantic relationship, partnership that you're going to want to marry or be with, you know, on a physical, you know, intimate way or sexual way. Then you can have someone that you're extremely sexually attracted to, but you don't trust them. That's probably going to be a fuck buddy or someone that you just hook up with and bye. You know, I'm not going to tell you my life story. I'm not going to tell you what I feel and, you know, the trials and tribulations of my life or my goals. Like, I'm not going to tell you my goals. You're just going to talk shit, you know, get out of here. And then the other thing is, damn, I already forgot. It's intimacy, sexual attraction, and
you named trust initially.
Yeah, trust. There's another one that I can't remember at this time. I think I need more caffeine too.
Honestly, when you said trust, I was like, that is so basic and like essential. Like, yeah, absolutely, that was right and true.
Yeah, I remember what the last one is. It's commitment. It's commitment. Yeah. So, for example, let's say this is the problem with most relationships that have been together for a long time. The only thing they have is commitment. So they're married to each other. They bought a house together. They have kids together. They're committed as fuck, you know, but they don't trust each other. So they don't have no intimacy. So they're like two ships crossing. Hey, how's your day going? Hey, how's your day going? Great. All right. Talk to you later. Bye. You pick up the kids? Yeah. Did you get the groceries? Yeah. What are we eating today? All right. Bye. They're no longer sexually attracted to each other because they let go of each other, you know, physically. They just eat like shit and they don't work out, and you know, the wife's out of shape, the husband's out of shape. He's over there watching porn. She's over there texting some other guy. They're both living completely separate lives together. what a horrible fucking way to live. I don't want to be in that kind of relationship, but unfortunately that's a lot of people. They only have commitment. They don't have trust, quote unquote, intimacy, and they don't have sexual attraction. Then there's the other person where you have sexual attraction and but you don't have intimacy, you don't have commitment. Like I said, that's just someone that you hook up with. And then you have the person that you have no commitment to and you have no sexual attraction, but you trust. And that's just a really good friend. That could be your mom, your brother, your friend, you know, you really, really trust them and you'll tell them anything about. But when one of those three things are missing, typically the relationship will end, or it won't be like a long lasting relationship, which is what most people want. But I've told people this over and over again, everything has a beginning and everything has an end, you know, and when you realize that, you won't take it so seriously, unfortunately, you know?
Yeah.
And sometimes the beginning and the end is a very long time, but guess what? At one point, we're all going to die. And some relationships end with death, you know? Like my mom and my dad have been married for, goddamn, I don't even know how many years now, like 40 years or something.
Wow.
No, not 40. My brother's 30. They've been married for 38 years, which is a long time. They're probably going to die together, you know? But guess what? That relationship is going to end at one point. One of them is going to pass away at one point, and then that's the end of their relationship.
Yeah.
My relationship was 2 years, you know, in my marriage. There was a beginning and there was an end. And in order to keep it working cohesively, like I said, we are an expression of the universe. We have to evolve and grow. Like my parents came from Mexico. They were neighbors, you know. My dad was like 5 years older than my mom. So he came out to California on his own when he was like 18, you know, illegally across the border. And then my mom came way later and they just happened to bump into each other. Like, holy shit, you're my neighbor, you know, and they built a relationship. They got married. They started working, they started businesses, they purchased homes, and they evolved, you know, and now they have, you know, what they work for, and they continue to evolve. And that's how couples stay together. They have their trials, their tribulations, they have their troubles, but at the root of it, they're evolving together, you know, and they're understanding each other. Like they know each other very, very well, you know, better than any other person. And I consider them, like, to me, they're a good representation of a good relationship.
That's awesome that you have that.
But at the same time, I don't think they have like the sexual attraction anymore. I don't know. They might be freaky and shit behind closed doors, you know?
I mean, but at the same time, you have to think about it too. Sexuality is like, it's not always intended to be like in a hyper state.
Yeah. My dad is in his 60s now. So, you know, our testosterone starts to drop.
I think a decline,
for a reason.
Yeah, exactly.
For a reason.
It's even on a biological level, there's not the need to procreate. So,
yeah.
And
Exactly.
that might be even an enjoyable time for partners where they just experience intimacy in other ways. That doesn't mean they lack physical touch.
Yeah. Sometimes I just want my sexual energy to like stop.
To stop.
Sometimes, you know, like, damn, all right, I got too much of this. So I understand that there is a reason why, you know, men's testosterone drops slowly over time. It's called andropause. And I actually talked about this subject with a personal trainer that came on. The problem right now is that most men's testosterone is dropping like at their 20s and shit because of the food they eat, the things they watch, you know, there's a lot of reasons. And you know, that's a big problem too with guys that just, you know, they have low testosterone. They're not in good shape. They're, you know, they're all messed up. So, you know, that's another thing that I want to help the universe with,
that's awesome.
is helping men be men.
Yeah.
And part of that is reaching your full potential physically, spiritually, emotionally, in every possible way. So I'm putting together a men's development seminar. I was supposed to do it last year in November, but unfortunately some things changed. So I'm going to push it probably closer to like March of this year. And it's going to be on, you know, the major subjects that men need to improve on, which is, you know, your relationships, you know, how to attract what you want, your physical health, which goes along with your testosterone levels, how to get your optimal testosterone levels and have the physique that showcases strength and ability. You know, the reason why people that are physically shaped are respected is because they showcase that they have discipline and that they can accomplish a goal in hand, you know. And then the other thing is going to be, you know, finances, how to create a business in whatever line they want to do and how to make it successful. So I'm getting all the guest speakers for that, and that should be really, really fun and interesting. So I'm looking forward to that, but I really want to thank you, for coming on the podcast, sharing your story, sharing your insight. I do want to ask you a couple more questions before we start wrapping up here.
Okay.
So right now in your career, what are your goals? What are you trying to accomplish with your business? What is the name of it again? It's
Untamed Sex Tarot.
Let's see there we go. Untamed Sex Tarot. Okay, cool. So what are you trying to accomplish with this business, with this brand, with you? What are your goals in life?
Well, my mission is to teach people how to read tarot cards in relation to sex. There's so much that I want to do, not just teach publicly on different platforms, but eventually privately with some sort of online school or curriculum, something more in depth down the line. I do want to create my own sex-themed decks. That's one thing that I felt like when I started, there wasn't the explicit decks as I wanted. So I want to create my own different tones.
That's awesome.
You
should do a calendar too. I'll buy it. Just kidding.
That's great. Actually, merch is definitely going to be on the website.
So your card's going to be more explicit. So you're going to show.
I think I would have to start with something more palatable.
Yeah. No, I think your idea is great. Actually. Yeah, that's cool.
I do want to.
I think people will, just by the fact that it's explicit, people will first become intrigued and interested, and then find you. Like for example, if let's say I go to a sex shop or something, and or not even a sex shop. Let's say I go to what's that one store in the mall that everybody buys shirts and stuff in.
Are you talking about Spencer's?
Yeah, Spencer's.
Okay.
Let's say I go to Spencer's, right? And then I'm looking at T-shirts and shit. I'm like, oh, here's a sex section. There's dildos and shit. And then I see sex tarot reading, and then I see these really I'm like, what is this? I'm intrigued. You just grab it, and you don't know anything about it. Yeah. But now you're tapped into that world, and
but it's like a game for people.
Yeah,
and that's all it honestly needs to be at some point is an entertainment, essentially.
Everything, I tell people this all the time, you have to have an entertainment aspect to your business, or else it's just going to be boring and you have to capture people's attention. People's attention span is so short. They'll lose attention really, really fast if you don't keep them engaged. So that's a really good idea. I didn't mean to cut you off, but I just thought, man, that's really cool.
No, I think those are two of the biggest things that I want to do. Of course, I will be always performing maybe live readings, but just I think also as well for the entertainment factor and value, I do some readings online that you could choose which card you're drawn to, but I do have an OnlyFans for the explicit sex tarot readings, and that's something for me that I just really want to grow, because I cannot do my readings explicitly for the public platforms. So on there I can. Right. So it's free at the moment. It's just still providing something for people to get used to see, even just the exposure. I'm
gonna subscribe to your OnlyFans.
Learn what sex tarot reading could be, and I go through all the instructions, directions. You just choose the card you're drawn to, and it's like getting a semi-personalized reading. And learning, it's just fun topics. What position do they want, what position are you good at, and of course one-on-one it's a lot more specific, but I do like doing those free readings because it's fun for me, and it intros people too as well. It just lets them know what it even is. So I just want to provide content and teach people, and of course merchandise, and that includes the tarot decks, sex tarot decks.
That's awesome. Yeah, so I definitely see you creating your own line of cards. Do you have an artist ready to work with?
So I don't have an artist ready, but I do have
know a lot of
artists that I definitely, if they're interested and they they're comfortable with the explicit nature. Since last year I have asked, and it's something that I'm still in the process of choosing the right person, and it will probably be a different person for every deck, honestly.
I have someone that I'll recommend to you. I'll send you their Instagram, but I think she's in Europe somewhere. But she does art, but like explicit art, you know.
That's so cool.
But it's very, very, very artistic the way that she does it. It's like it's just looking at the pictures, like they're captivating, but they're like explicit, you know.
I feel like that would be good for maybe like a first deck where it's like also artistic versus one that's just raw, explicit.
Like, this is just porn.
I have some cards that are like that, but they help too. I need everything.
Yeah.
So
your little tricks of the trade, huh?
Yeah.
That's another question I have for you. What are some of the more interesting experiences that you've had reading someone's cards? Have you experienced anything out of the ordinary that you're like, whoa, that was crazy? Or, I mean, I don't know if you're like considered like a psychiatrist where you can, talk about your sessions. I'm not saying name.
No. I definitely won't name names, but I think for me, it's just like even in the past week, which I sometimes guys or men, they will test and they'll just see if I'm even accurate for them. So this past week, I had someone who wanted to just see what I was about. So he got
I'm going to test you, by the way.
He got a penis-sized reading from me, and I gave him his reading back. And
does that mean you have to like look at it or something?
No, not at all. I just read the cards. And so I read him. I just, whoever he got it on, it was himself.
Like, tiny.
And
how did you know?
And it just, they're always just kind of tripped out, basically, like, okay, then I guess I can get more readings from her. Yeah. That's just like one small example. I'm always being surprised because sometimes I'll tell people specific things, and then when I get the feedback, I'm still constantly learning and surprised. So that's just one small example because it's off the top of my head.
Yeah,
so
that's funny. Do you ever challenge people on their sexuality and be like, I'm reading that you're probably gay or something like that, or you're probably bisexual, or have you thought about the opposite sex? And they're like, how do they respond to that if you do? Or
I think it's, instead of a challenge, it's more so an awareness. So I would like the way that you word it. I definitely, that's one thing that I do well, I feel like I just kind of guide people versus like challenge them. Like you said, they might feel like it's like something wrong, essentially. So kind of open them up to it absolutely being okay as well. They might be actually open to like other genders or maybe transgender, like something in them is not completely straight. So definitely I open people up, especially when I see sometimes women very rigid, they come out very rigid in the cards. I will guide them to be more sensual and softer, or whatever they need to be, maybe take more initiative, whatever it is. It's not always comfortable, so it is a challenge. Like you said, it is a challenge.
Yes, again, I want to thank you for coming on the podcast and sharing your insight and wisdom. I definitely want to have you come back on because I feel there was a lot of different subjects that we could just dive deep into, and you're more than welcome to bring a guest. I'm going to be having this year on the podcast guest host that bring on people that they feel have a good story, that's someone they feel that could be impactful to the world, someone they have, they feel that it's going to be a great guest on the show. And then my co-host, since they have a connection to that guest, could ask more insightful questions. Like that makes sense. I don't know much about, tarot readings, so I know there's other people that are more in the knowing in question that you would probably ask someone that's in that field or in that line of work that I wouldn't know, know? So I think it's good to have that mastermind, on these podcasts. But for our audience out there, make sure you guys check out Miss Angel's Instagram. What's your Instagram handle?
Untamed Sex Tarot.
Okay, Untamed Sex Tarot. Make sure you guys add her. Follow her OnlyFans. It's free. Get yourself a reading. Stay tuned for those cards that I'll definitely be purchasing and trying them out. And do people actually read their own cards?
So they can. I find people to say it's really challenging, and I mean, that's why I'm stepping in. I just want to help people just have an easy way. They pull a card. What do they have to do? Just watch a YouTube video and gives them the answer. So people can read their own sex cards. anyone could, if you just have a deck, even a regular tarot deck, it doesn't have to be sex themed.
Yeah.
You can read your own cards. So it's possible. Do they know how? No, not necessarily. That's why they come to me, but they can.
You got a brilliant idea. Yeah, you can create an online course to teach people how to read their own cards and sell the cards at the same time.
Well, that's what I'm going to be doing.
Yeah,
but
awesome.
I really just want to start with YouTube, honestly. I want to probably just YouTube and Rumble, just like cross post. Because when I was learning, there's so many YouTube videos on how to read tarot cards just regularly, like the regular topic, but none for sex. And you don't know how many times I just wish I could listen to something. So just, it really helps ingrain it. You could listen while you're getting ready, listen to it multiple times, and it's another way of learning. So that's what I'm going to be doing starting this month, actually, is like creating my YouTube.
That's awesome.
Teaching people.
Do you have the YouTube channel up and running?
Yeah, it's Untamed Sex Tarot. Everything is Untamed Sex Tarot. The website, sextarot.com is also the website, but it's Untamed Sex Tarot. The TikTok too, it's all Untamed Sex Tarot.
Awesome. Make sure you guys follow, subscribe, get on that OnlyFans. I'm going to be putting out an OnlyFans pretty soon too. And make sure you guys subscribe to Dreams to Reality podcast, Instagram, YouTube, and we'll see you guys next time.